In this video, I share with you 50 travel tips that are very useful to you if you want to come to Switzerland. Now let's get started with the first one, and that would be to not only limit yourself to visiting cities. I know usually when you arrive in a country, you'll reach first the cities. We do have really a lot of beautiful cities here in Switzerland. The very typical ones for tourists to visit would be Zurich, Lucerne, Bern, and also Geneva. But to be honest, there's a lot more to do, so also consider going to the Alps. Number 2, peak season. In Switzerland, we do have a couple of times where it's going to be very packed, so really important for you to know if you travel to Switzerland during Christmas, New Year, it's going to be very busy. By the way, also the same is the case for the winter season up in the Alps from February to mid-March. And then in summer, July and August, these months are very busy. So do not expect to be alone. Many people will be also traveling and hotspots can be very crowded. The third thing is, in the Alps, the weather can change suddenly and you're going to be absolutely surprised. So you're on a hike, it's going to be beautifully sunny and you think, hey, wow, we're so fortunate with the weather today. However, things are not always like that. Suddenly there may be fog coming up or it just gets cloudy, it starts raining, and here you really need to check the weather forecast before you're going to hike, otherwise it can get really dangerous. The same is also the case if you're in Zermatt, you want to see the Matterhorn. You might have a clear blue sky just at the very moment, but half an hour later suddenly the Matterhorn is in the clouds and usually remains like that. Number 4 are the trains. Switzerland is a fantastic country if you want to travel by public transport. You can reach pretty much any of the place with bus or train. And what's really great when you're traveling by train, it's going to be quite efficient. You always start on time and you can also be sure that you arrive at the very time on the schedule. And this is something that's very useful. We do have some really scenic train rides. These would be the Glacier Express from Zermatt to St. Moritz, or then also the Rhaetische Bahn from Chur to Tirano in Italy. These are really cool attractions, but it's also very efficient for you to get around. Number 5 would be the travel passes. With those travel passes, you can actually save a lot of money than if you buy all the tickets individually. In Switzerland, we do have some special promotions for tourists, so we have certain passes depending which regions you visit. Really do inform yourself before you're traveling there. With that, you can save a lot of money. And what's great, also many of these passes are even covering boats and gondolas, or at least you have to pay only half. There's also a half fare card. You can buy that for 180 Swiss francs. That's how much it costs at the moment. That is valid for 1 year, and all your public transportation rides, they're only costing you half. Even that is also valid for many gondolas and trains like the Jungfraujoch, but it's only worth if you're staying long in Switzerland or if you're coming more than once in the year, and if you're going to spend at least 370 francs, the double, on public transport. By the way, if you're going up to the Jungfraujoch, well, then you already may consider getting such a half-fare card, because that is going to cost you more than 200 Swiss francs only, without any special pass. Number 6, to be very honest with you, I don't know what people tell you on Instagram, but Swiss cuisine is definitely more than only fondue and cheese. We do eat a lot, we have various salads. With Swiss people, we also really enjoy having steaks, Rahmschnitzel and so on. But fondue and raclette, well, these things, we only have them on special occasions, especially during winter, and that even just once or twice. We don't eat that regularly. And if you're traveling to Switzerland, certainly do try these things, but always keep in mind, Swiss cuisine is not only all about cheese. Number 7, Christmas Day. I do have to be very honest, it's absolutely boring. If you want to see any processions or cultural performances, festivals, on Christmas, it's basically a dead day. Nothing is going to happen. All of us Swiss, we're going to be at home with our families celebrating, and all of the shops are closed. So unfortunately, on Christmas Day, there's absolutely nothing for you to see. Number 8, this is something really important if you're traveling around Switzerland, especially by car. Do not travel crisscross like that, because you're going to lose a lot of time and also you're going to spend more money. So select the places you want to visit, then put them on a map and then see how you want to travel. It's also very important that we have the Alps in Switzerland, so sometimes you cannot just travel like on a straight line, and the distances, they may seem short, but the road is going to take you longer than you might think. And then number 9, good news. English is very widespread, so that means you won't have to fear any language barrier being an issue. Pretty much everybody these days speaks English. Even in the remote areas, it's not much of a problem anymore, so you're going to be absolutely fine with English only. Number 10, the pass roads. They're absolutely scenic roads, however, they're not open during all year. They're closed from October, November until May, June in the next year, and you can only drive on them when you have good conditions. These roads are absolutely beautiful. By the way, if you want to know which ones are the top 10 pass roads of Switzerland, I've made a separate video about these. You may watch that after this video. Number 11, that is probably our unofficial national sport here in Switzerland. That would be hiking. It's such a beautiful activity. You can see so many great places out in nature, reaching them through a hike. What's really great, often you don't have to share these beautiful hidden gems with many other people, so you really can enjoy the serene side of Switzerland. These hiking trails, they're in general free. Of course, at some of the places you can greatly shorten your hiking by taking a cabin ride first and then just hike for the last part. For that you have to pay, but if you really want to save those costs, well then you can hike up all the way. That's definitely going to prolong your journey a lot, but at least you don't have to pay anything. Number 12 would be city cards. If you're staying in the cities in Switzerland, I know it's really expensive. However, when you're paying the tourism tax in the hotels, then you're going to get a tourism card, which is going to be valid only for the city you're staying at. And with that, you can use all public transport for free. This is really great. It's going to save you a lot of costs, and it's also going to make it really efficient to get around. Even short distances, let's say just half a kilometer or 2 kilometers, can actually take those short bus rides, and it's going to make everything very efficient. And since we're talking about such cards, in Neuchâtel they have such an amazing concept. I know this canton and region, it's not really the first place you would think about when you come into Switzerland, but they do have a really great promotion for you. If you're staying at any hotel except Airbnb in Neuchâtel, then they're going to give you a small booklet. That one is full of vouchers, and these cover all the attractions for free. Museums, cable cars, boat rides, all of these things, they're free. When you go to these attractions, you do have to discard the vouchers. That means you can go there only once for free. Now, even better, that booklet is also your travel card. That means you can use public transportation only within the canton of Neuchâtel for free. Great for families or people who are traveling on a budget. Number 14, I know with Swiss people, we're often being described as being quite reserved. However, if you do need help, please ask. We're like Japanese people, really love helping our tourists who are visiting our beautiful country. And since you're just at that point, if you're talking to the locals, especially if you're being very nice, may I ask them for a secret tip? Then they're going to share with you something that is not very much known among international tourists and even among us Swiss. I have done that a lot, and I do have to say I've profited greatly from it. Many beautiful places, I would never know them if I didn't talk to the locals. This here is a really important thing. I know dining out in Switzerland is really expensive, but you'll be surprised. The prices, they're exactly as they're stated in the menu. If a dish costs 30 Swiss francs, it's going to cost you 30 Swiss francs, not 35, not 37. That means GST and also service charge, they're going to be included. Tipping in Switzerland is optional because of that. If you're really satisfied, please feel free to do so. Usually we round up, so if it's like 46 or 48, just pay 50. If it's 95, pay 100. And then if you're doing fine dining, usually the service is anyway very good, well then you can be a little bit more generous. Number 17, be on time. I know this is some of the things that people always talk about when it comes to Swiss culture. If you meet up with friends from Switzerland, if you agree to meet at 8, it means 8, not 8:30 and not 9 p.m. Of course, delays can happen, but then please inform them early. If they wait more than 15 minutes, it's considered really rude. Now, trains, they do not wait for you at all. If you miss the train, well then too bad for you, because they really depart sharply on the very minute. If it's 7:45, well, if you arrive at 7:46, the train has already left. Number 18, not everything can be reached by gondola or car. There are really a lot of attractions, for example, the Aletsch Glacier or the Rhone Glacier, Klein Matterhorn. They can all be reached by cable car or by car, but often some of the greatest things you can only arrive there when you're going for a hike. For example, the Lac Bleu at Arolla, that one you need to hike for at least 45 minutes. Then there are even more things like Schäflo and so on. You can only go there if you hike, and often it takes you more than an hour. And if you go up to some summits, it can take you even more than 4 hours. Number 19, one of my favorite advice, do visit some of the villages here in Switzerland. We really have endless amount of beautiful villages. It's really incredible, the diversity. Over there you can see a lot of traditional houses, you can try our dishes, and you're really going to learn more about our culture. I think visiting a village makes you stay in Switzerland very authentic, so definitely consider going there. Some of the villages, they are pretty touristy, some of them they're not touristy at all. At the latter ones, you might not even have any restaurant or hotel, it might be pretty dead, you may see some of the locals, but at least you're not going to share it with loads of other tourists. By the way, if you don't know where to go, I've made a couple of top 10 villages videos. You can check them out as you're browsing through my channel. Number 20, this is a really cool thing we have here in Switzerland. When the pass roads are closed, you still can take a shortcut by taking the car train tunnels. So we have 4 of them at the Autoverlad Forka, Verraina, Lötschberg and at the Simplon. There you can enter a train with your car and you're going to be taken through a tunnel to the other side of the mountain. That is going to greatly shorten your travel, otherwise you'll have to go and do a big loop. This is going to really take a lot more time. But here I also have to say, it is really important. Yes, they're open during all year, but especially in winter, these tunnels are very much used. If you're traveling on weekends during winter, it's going to be super busy, so waiting times can be less than an hour if you're very lucky, but normally it's 1 to even 3 hours. So this is something you really need to be aware of. It's important when you come to Switzerland to visit different regions. We do have 4 different languages, German, French, Italian and Romansh. All of these regions, they do have their own culture and unique vibe. And even if you visit these regions, there are actually sub-regions within them. So for example, there's Central Switzerland, East Switzerland and the Bernese Oberland. These are only in the Swiss-German part. Then in the French-speaking part, you have the Swiss Riviera, you have the Jura, really beautiful regions for you to visit. And then there's also Valais and Ticino, Graubünden. So really do your research and you'll be surprised how diverse Switzerland is, despite it actually has such a small size. The next point, number 22, I keep telling this to many people. There is not only Zurich, Lucerne, Interlaken, Zermatt and Geneva. There's really a lot more for you to see. So those places I just mentioned, they are the typical ones. All the tours are going there and these are big hotspots. So do not only limit yourself to those, instead also visit some hidden gems. You're going to really enjoy it. But of course, if you want, then do include some of the hotspots. I mean, seeing the Matterhorn is something absolutely fantastic. Also going to Lucerne, it's a very enchanting city, so please do consider going to some of the hotspots, but do not only limit yourself to these. Number 23, our culture. It's incredible. In Switzerland, we really have a large set of festivals, and I'm really shocked, but also very proud to see how well we're actually taking care of our culture. So all over the year, there are various festivals in cities and villages. Very important months are February, March, August, September, and then December. So we do have various carnivals that you can see. All of them are a bit different, so it's really worth seeing more than only one carnival. Then we also celebrate our alpine culture and folklore that usually happens in September when the farmers are bringing back the cows. And then also in November we do have our own version of Halloween. This would be the lantern festivals called Rebelichtli. And in December we do have various Christmas markets, really beautiful ones. And if you want to know which ones are the best Christmas markets of Switzerland, I've made a top 10 Christmas markets video that you can watch after these 50 tips here. Number 24 would be sledding. I know when you're traveling during winter and you see all the people skiing, you think, oh, but how can I actually have a similar experience? But skiing is so difficult. Well then, I highly recommend you try sledding. It's super easy, it's a little bit similar to skiing, but you're going to remain seated. It's really easy to navigate, use the right foot to turn right, left foot to turn left, and then also important, bring good shoes and certainly do not wear ski boots, that's a really bad idea. There are various toboggan runs all over Switzerland, many of them being super easy for first-timers. And then we also have great swimming places out in the nature. We don't have any beaches, we don't have like islands like in tropical countries, but you'll be surprised. In Switzerland we do have places that are out of tropical countries, and over there you can swim. Now, it's really beautiful, but you do have to be aware there are also a couple of risks. So it's easy to swim in lakes, you can stand and then there's no stream, but if you're swimming, for example, in the rivers or creeks, there you'll have a stream, and here I highly recommend you need to be a good swimmer, otherwise maybe better swim in some place that is stationary. Also be aware if you're swimming in the Alps, especially Ticino and Valle, there are many beautiful places, but the water is often not very warm. It's only 10 to 15 degrees Celsius. And in that case, it's really important for you to enter the water slowly. Do not jump, and also be aware the rocks, they can be slippery. So as you can see, there are a couple of risks. As long as you're aware of them, I'm pretty sure you're going to have a great time. Let's continue with the next point. You'll be surprised, although Switzerland is expensive, there are also many free attractions at where you can go to. For example, fortresses, castles, and sometimes even museums, they're actually free. If you go to Schaffhausen, the Munot Fortress, it is free, you can enjoy a fantastic vista. Bellinzona, the same, the 3 UNESCO World Heritage Castles. This is something super cool, especially if you're traveling on a budget. Switzerland is a very clean country, and this only works as long as everyone is doing his or her own part. If you're in the villages and cities, please do not litter. By the way, often it's going to be penalized, but there are a lot of litter bins all around, so I'm sure you can easily dispose your waste. If you go out to the nature, especially in the Alps, these places, they're very holy to us, so please keep them clean. That's why they're so beautiful. I'm pretty sure if you can bring your own food for a picnic, you can also bring back your waste, right? So with this, please help to keep Switzerland clean, and then it's going to be very enjoyable. Switzerland is really beautiful for drone pilots, but there are certain laws that you need to adhere to. First of all, you need to register your drone in the EU system. Although we are a non-member, we do follow the same law. Once you registered your drone and you've passed the online quiz, you're good to go. But then also you need to check the official drone map of Switzerland. The colored areas, these are no-fly zones, especially the yellow zones. Strictly do not fly there. It's very important for you to know that. These are nature reserves, and getting a permit for those is basically impossible. I'm telling you that. Even sometimes tourism boards, they're being declined despite they're actually very important organizations. If you still consider flying there, I do have to say I'm really disappointed. There are some influencers, they think likes matter more than nature, so please don't do that. If you get caught, the fine is going to be 400 Swiss francs. If that happens again, you're going to be in big trouble. Number 29. Do try some of the fancy hotels in the Alps. There are some really cool places for you to stay at. You can enjoy a great spa with a great view. You can relax in a whirlpool. Absolutely fantastic. The service is outstanding. But make sure you book these places early, and if you're traveling on a budget, well then I guess one night is enough, but then just maximize your time to stay at a hotel to enjoy its facilities. Number 30. In Switzerland, we do have a different system when it comes to restaurants. So if you're from the US or Asia, then you're probably used to queue for restaurants. In Switzerland, if it's full, well, that means better try your luck elsewhere, because in Switzerland we do not queue. The best thing you can do, just make a reservation and then you can be sure you can dine at the restaurant that you like. Number 31. If you're traveling during off-season, you may get some benefits, especially for tickets, that you're going to save a lot of money. Now, off-season is during April, May, early June, and then also in September, October, November. During that time, some of the regions, they're going to offer you special passes, like the Alecce Arena offer you the ticket Herbstsonne. With that, you can take various gondolas during September, and the ticket's also going to cover a lunch. Super cool. Saas-Fee has a similar thing, and just depending on where you go, make sure you inform yourself before, because with that you can save a lot of money and the experience is going to be pretty cool. So whichever region you're going to travel to during low season, make sure you ask in the hotels about special promotions, then you can save a lot of money. Talking about season, we have 4 seasons here in Switzerland, and with that our cuisine is changing throughout the year. So for example, from April to June it's season for rhubarb, but also for asparagus, so we have various specialties during that time. June to August it's season for berries and cherries. And then September, October, November do have a lot of grapes, pears and nuts. And it's also going to be hunting season. You can try the deer meat, absolutely delicious. Oh yeah, and I haven't mentioned that yet. October, November, it's going to be season for mushrooms. So really cool times to travel. In winter, we have specialties like fondue, raclette. Definitely try them. It's going to be especially nice when it's cold outside. Number 33. Switzerland is not by the equator, it's neither a very hot country, however the UV index can be very high, especially if you're up in the Alps. So on higher altitudes the radiation is elevated, and with that it's important that you always bring sunblock, especially put it on your face, cover your head if you're bald, and do please wear sunglasses because the UV is going to damage your eyes. This is even more important if there is snow up in the mountains. And since we're talking about being in the mountains, the timing in the Alps works different than being in the cities. So let's say you arrive at a city or a village, well then if you arrive there by 3 p.m, that's going to be still early. If you arrive on one of the summits in the Alps, that's going to be late or maybe even too late. Of course, there are a few summits like Mount Sentis, for example, can go straight up with one gondola, so 3 may be still fine. But the moment you need to take multiple gondolas and the way is going to be far, for example up to Montfort or the Kleinmatterhorn, where your journey is going to take at least 60 to 90 minutes, well then 3 p.m. is already too late. Many of the attractions up there are going to close, for example the restaurants or even the glacier caves. After 3 p.m. you can't experience any of these. Now the last gondola is usually around 4:30, sometimes even 5 p.m. So here I highly recommend you get up early, take the first gondola around 8:30 or 9. It's still fine if you start at 11, but after that I think it's already quite late, and then also it's going to be pretty rushed. By the way, really cool, Switzerland is a very vegetarian and even vegan friendly country. If you're in the cities, we do have a lot of restaurants with vegan food and vegan dishes, so definitely very easy for you to get around. Overall, if you're a vegetarian, pretty much everywhere in Switzerland you're going to find a lot of interesting dishes in the restaurants, so these days it's not a problem anymore. And then also our national dishes, fondue and raclette, these are actually vegetarian. By the way, even for fondue and raclette there is a vegan option. These you can usually get at selected places and in the cities, but if you're in remote places then it's really important, please do inform the restaurant at least a day before, so they can prepare themselves and also provide you a good dining experience. Usually here in Switzerland, I think we're a lot more vegan friendly than, for example, France, but if you inform the people beforehand, they're definitely going to appreciate it. I've done that for one of my friends and she was really happy because she got a great dish and overall her experience during the holiday was very good. Number 36. Wherever you travel to, I always recommend you to try a few local words. It's going to be very much appreciated by the people. So usually we greet with grüezi in Swiss German, in French it's bonjour, buongiorno in Italian, and then in Romansh it's buondì or allegra. People are going to love it, especially if you're a tourist. Then you can also learn words like danke, merci and so on. Usually people are going to be very friendly to you, and then they're also going to be curious. And who knows, maybe that also might be a good way to start a conversation, especially also to get some local insider tips. And since we're talking about communication in Switzerland, it's important that you ask the right way. So if you want something, especially in a restaurant, please say, "May I have please?" or "Could I please have?" or "Would it be possible if I please could have?" This is the way how we ask in Switzerland. That's going to be very well received. However, if you ask, "Give me this," or "I want that," yeah, that is considered a little bit rude. Number 38. Be appropriately equipped. Especially if you go up to the mountains, that is really important, because if you're going for a hike, you need to make sure bring good shoes with profile so you get a good grip. Hiking in slippers and sandals or sport shoes is definitely a very bad idea. It may lead to accidents. And also be aware of the weather. It can be windy, can be rainy suddenly. So always bring enough clothes and then you're going to be fine. And also important, bring enough water with you, because you might not always have an available source, especially if it's hot out there, then you may actually suffer quite a bit. Number 39, in Switzerland, a lot of things are expensive. However, taxis are incredibly expensive. So at any time, please try to avoid taking a taxi. Rather have an Uber. It's going to be 30 to 60% cheaper. But in general, we do have a pretty good public transportation. With that, you're going to save a lot of costs. With number 40, we have another money-saving tip. In Switzerland, the water is drinkable almost everywhere, so it's always great to refill your bottle at the various fountains we have. Especially up in the Alps, the water is going to be very fresh and the taste is also going to be very nice. Now, in a few cases, the water is not potable, then you'd always see signs like this. As long as you don't see anything like that, you can be sure the water is going to be drinkable. Number 41 would be autumn season. Lush green Switzerland, it's beautiful, but I have to be honest, autumn is just incredible with all the colors. So this is something that you really should consider. Visiting Switzerland during October is going to be very enchanting. You'll see the golden larches and also the various trees, the Indian summer that you can experience in the forests. It's absolutely magical. Really something for you to not miss out, and it's also low season. Something that's pretty cool, and by the way, I made top 10 videos about autumn if you don't know where to go. Talking about autumn, now let's talk about spring. That's the season when everything is coming back to life. You'll see the various bushes, plants and flowers blooming. An absolutely beautiful time. For that, the peak season is during mid-April to early May. Then you will have most of the blossoms. For example, you'll see the wisteria with their purple. It's absolutely incredible. Then the cherry blossoms, white for the local trees and then pink for the Japanese ones. Really magical. There are even more bushes and trees to see blooming during the time. Definitely great opportunity for you to travel to Switzerland. Number 43. Greet people. I know when in a city or anywhere where it's crowded, it would be weird to greet people, but if you're in a remote place and you're just crossing someone, then please do greet the people. This is just our cultural norm here in Switzerland. The same we do also when we're hiking in the Alps. Number 44, do try some of the local wines. I know Switzerland's not very famous for wines, and just next to us we have France and Italy, countries that are world famous for amazing wines. But Swiss wines these days are also pretty good. We do have different regions for wine lovers to visit, for example the Blauburgunderland in Schaffhausen, then there's also the Lavaux around Lake Geneva, Valle and Ticino, they also have great wines. In Valle you have the Gamay, in Ticino you have the Merlot, really great wines. And these you can only have as long as you're in the very place at where you're traveling to. Once you're going back home, you won't have the opportunity to try those wines. With the next tip, here we're talking about safety. Please always do stay on marked trails. So when we're hiking, the trail is usually visible. If it's not very clear, then you'll always have the symbols, 3 lines, white, red, white. If it's an alpine trail, it's white, blue, white. They will show you the directions, so please follow those. But if you're leaving the trail, then you're putting yourself at risk. Especially when you're skiing, do not leave the slopes. And unfortunately, also know one person, she had a fatal accident. She is no longer with us for 6 years now. Number 46, should you rent a car or ride a train? Well, both of those have their advantages. If you rent a car, you can get around freely. Even the timings when you're traveling doesn't really matter too much. However, when you're traveling by train, you're tied to schedules. On the other side, when you're traveling by car, you're subjected to the traffic, so you may end up being stuck in a traffic jam. But when you're in the train, at least you have the luxury of arriving on time. Now, when you're traveling by train, then also be aware if you're going to very remote places, you have to take also a bus in addition. The last bus going back is maybe not late, but rather early, around 6 or even 8 p.m. I know many of you idealize being Switzerland when it's lush green. However, that is only for a short time. Usually lush green Switzerland, you can experience it from mid-May to mid-July. After that, the grass and the trees are going to turn light green and it's going to be slightly washed out. Number 48, that's a very nice tool. Please try my demographic map. Here in Switzerland, you can see I've marked various places at where you can go to. If you click on one of these icons, you're going to be redirected to my YouTube videos or Instagram Reels. Then you can see how those places exactly look like. So it's really useful. By the way, there are also filters that you can apply, for example, seasonal filters for spring, autumn, or even activities, hotels. Very useful tool. You only need to purchase the map once and then it's all yours. By the way, I have over 200 spots. And if you want, you can also buy the secret spot expansion. Then you'll see places like that, where they're located at. Really nice places. However, please, if you're going to those spots and you're making any posts on social media, do not reveal the location, because otherwise you'll have all those influencers going there and they're going to ruin the place, unfortunately, for good, because that has happened to some of these spots. So please be responsible. We're almost done. Number 49. For some of the attractions, it's very important that you pre-book your visit, because at some of the places you only have limited spaces or you need to go for a guided tour. For example, caves or the Mine de Sel de Bé, the salt mine. There you need to book your visit in advance. Then it's important you need to arrive on time. If you arrive too late, well then the tour has already started, and if you're traveling on weekends, there may be no other slot for you to go to. Same goes for the Lac Souterrain. There's only a limited amount of boats, so if it's really busy season, well then do not book last minute, but rather a few days ahead, and then you can be sure that you can visit those attractions. And now the last tip, number 50. I already talked about low season, but only about the benefits. There are also some things they need to be aware of. So during low season, many of the hotels, they're making holidays because their employees, they also need a break. So many of those, including restaurants, they will be closed. Of course, even in the Alps, some hotels will remain open because there's always a demand for people to travel there, but your choice is limited, so please book ahead. Also the restaurants, if you want to walk in as a group, you're going to be surprised. Often the restaurants are fully booked. So here, make sure to make a reservation at least one day before, and then it's going to be fine. I hope with these 50 Switzerland travel tips, I could help you to ease your planning when you want to come to my beautiful country. Now, here you're going to see a great top 10 video, and also make videos about Southeast Asia, really cool places. So if you want to see something different, well, then we're going to meet over there.